John at rte.ie.
This evening at the National Concert Hall, a genuine musical legend will be playing a sold-out gig. And yesterday evening, I sat down for a face-to-face chat with him. See if these bring back any memories for you.
Now the party's over, I'm so tired. Then I see you coming out of nowhere.
That's right, Bryan Ferry, formerly of Roxy Music, is in our town, and along with his jazz orchestra, he's going to be performing a sold-out gig this evening at the National Concert Hall in Dublin. Well, yesterday evening, I went to sit with him and chat to him. Sometimes you meet people you've liked in the past and they're a disappointment. He wasn't. He was very gentle, he was very nice, and he was very warm. And he'd just flown in from a pretty special gig in Moscow.
No, it was great. We played in Red Square, and it was... a very fun crowd. They were kind of getting into it, actually. It was very, very good. And then we had quite a late night at a bar afterwards. So I'm feeling a bit drowsy at the moment.
But at least you're seeing Dublin in the sunshine, which is a rare thing.
It is rare, and it's great to see. It's amazing. I've never seen it like this before. There's usually a faint mist or drizzle going on. But I've always had a great time here anyway. As you possibly know, I used to spend a lot of time on the West Coast, which is a different kind of thing, just by the sea and so on, over in the Burren,
Do you still enjoy performing?
Well, it has its moments, yeah, it's good. I tend to have, each time I go on a tour, tend to have a different band or make changes here and there. And that keeps it interesting. And the band we've got at the minute is really interesting to work with, because there's 15 people on stage. There's a lot of different musical colours, different instruments, because we've got the jazz players as well as the rock band. And the last album I put out was called The Jazz Age, which was an instrumental album of my songs done in the 1920s style. And
of course, with that jazz, two of your songs and ones you treated in your own way were picked up on the Great Gatsby, weren't they? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was a great experience, because Baz Luhrmann, the director, is quite a character, and he's fun, and he heard the Jazz Age album that we did, and the Great Gatsby is of course set in the 20s. It's one of the great books of the period. It's one of my favourite books since I was a teenager, so I was thrilled that he wanted to do something. So he used a couple of tracks that we'd done on the Jazz Age, a couple of songs from there, and then we also did quite a few more pieces which are kind of interwoven into the musical soundtrack that he did.
When you say you always liked the Gatsby book, did you like Gatsby? I suppose in a sense you've been known as much for your music as for your style. So do you like Gatsby?
Yeah, I mean, the character is a man of mystery who's come from nowhere, and you think, well, where is he? And he's has these amazing parties, and yet he's driven by this quest for a kind of hopeless quest, really, for love, a lost love, really. And so it's a kind of sad tale, really, but it's one that's kind of universal, so it appeals to a lot of people. That's why it's one of the most popular books around, I've forgotten how many it actually sells every year in America, but loads.
To remind people of your back, you grew up in a pit village, didn't you, near Durham, Washington?
Yeah, Washington, yeah. It was famous for George Washington's family had originated. It's a bit different from Dublin. It was, it was a tiny place, really. But I had a great childhood there. I went to the local school, and then the local grammar school after that. And then I even went to the university, which was not so far away in Newcastle, which was the big town, the big city near where we lived. But by the time I'd finished university, I really wanted to go south, go to London and try and see what I could do there,
Were your parents a big influence on you?
Oh yeah, very big. And my whole upbringing was very traditional, solid values, you know. Yeah, my dad was very, very quiet, very reflective, sort of quiet countryman, really, sitting there with in his garden with his chickens and his pigeons, you know, smoking his pipe. It's my memory of him, really. And my mother was very much a town girl, very vivacious, full of life, and very quite a contrast to my dad. They were together all their lives, so it was a good, solid upbringing, really.
You were a paper boy, like lots of boys were a paper round, and Tom, you used to deliver Melody Maker.
I used to deliver all the papers in the morning before I went to school, and in the evening when I came back from school. And then at the weekends I'd sell the football papers as well, and go around the pubs and get hopefully big tips from drunken men buying the football special, you know. Used to deliver the magazines as well, like Melody Maker and New Musical Express and all sorts, Jazz Monthly. So I used to read all these things avidly because I was very into music from the age of 10. So.
And the first time you appeared on the stage apparently was in Malvolio when you were a 15-year-old schoolboy.
Correct. Yeah, I was a bit of a hit in that, I must confess. Yes, it was good. It was my first taste of really being on stage.
When you went to university in Newcastle, there were lots of influences, I suppose, in terms of how your musical career went ahead. But there was a moment, wasn't there, when you hitchhiked to London to see the Stax Roadshow with Otis Redding. That was hugely influential on you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I loved Otis Redding and all the music from Memphis. I hitchhiked down and saw them at the Roundhouse, and it was so amazing, visually powerful, as well as the music. And it was fantastic, and they looked great in their kind of bright mohair suits, and it was a real performance of wonderful music, and I thought, wow, I'd really like to do that. So I ended up trying to do it.
When Roxy Music first, I suppose, became very successful, was it that moment on Top of the Pops when you sang Virginia Plain? Was that the big moment? Was that your first big hit?
It was the first hit. It was the first kind of crossover to radio listeners.
Before that, I read somewhere that you'd been very shy initially when you went into Roxy Music, that when you were obviously the lead singer, but you used to stand at the side of the stage sometimes rather than go into the centre of the stage.
Well, yeah, because I played piano, so I was at one side of the stage and the rest of the band were in the middle, and Brian Eno was on the other side with his synthesizer and stuff. It was after, I guess, the second album when I kind of really stopped playing piano on stage and then concentrated on the singing bit and being sent to stage and getting somebody else to do the hard work on the piano.
Let's choose a track now, one of yours that you'd like to listen to, or there's a reason why we should listen to it.
Well, there are plenty of songs that I've written myself, but I'll choose one that's one of the covers that I did with Roxy Music, and it's a John Lennon song called Jealous Sky. How it came about is we were touring Europe, and we were about to play a show in Dortmund, quite a big arena. Very sad news of John Lennon's death, occurred, and we thought, well, let's do one of John Lennon's songs as an encore at the show, and I chose Jealous Sky because I liked the song. So we did the Jealous Sky, and the reaction was amazing. So when we got back to England, we recorded it and it became our biggest ever hit.
Glam pop or glam whatever, you were regarded, I suppose, for your image as a band, as much as the sound that you produced. Was that something you consciously worked on from the word go?
Well, at the beginning, yes. I mean, we had friends who were fashion designers who were kind of very keen to help us kind of do things for us, and they wanted to, I guess get publicity for their stuff. And Anthony Price was the kind of main one who became a lasting friend. I mean, I saw him last week even. And we had other people as well. Brian Eno's girlfriend was a really interesting artist who did some costumes for him, which were really great. They're a bit kind of more futuristic than the things that I was wearing probably. We always felt the music was by far the most important part of it, but we wanted to kind of make the show a bit theatrical and make it interesting for people, you know.
And the LP covers, of course, as they were then, were always incredibly important and visual.
I wanted the covers to look special because, you know, I'd spent all these years training to be an artist. And suddenly we had the opportunity to kind of do something visual with the album covers, which were much bigger than these little CDs that we have now, or downloads, which you don't really see anything. The first day the first album came out, I was walking down the King's Road where our manager's office was, and the record store, which I always looked into, was full of this album cover, plastered all over the shop, and it looked great. And I thought, it's a great way to do something interesting for the public, you know, on an LP sleeve. And there were some interesting sleeves done in those days. So we had a series of interesting-looking women, you know, in different situations on these album covers, and they became a sort of series, really.
Yeah, they were beautiful. Some of whom, of course, you ended up with.
Oh, that was, that part of the job, I guess. Yeah.
That's the hard part of the job. You're unusual for a star and a pop star in that you come from a working class background, but you vote Tory. You support the Tory party, is that correct?
I don't talk about politics anymore. Gets into too much hot water, I find. Yeah.
Did it get you into hot water? Yes, in the past.
Really, it's just that people build up a picture of you which isn't quite accurate. I like tradition, and I suppose with a small C, I'm conservative. And I don't really, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. Obviously, if things can be improved as time goes on, you know, then changes should happen. But sometimes there's too much change for change's sake, you know. I quite like traditional things.
That's interesting. I think it's just a presumption sometimes that people come from, say, a working class background and then they go into the world of music that they're going to be leaning left. So I think you're an interesting person that you're not that.
Over the years you meet all kinds of people, and you make choices all the time, every day. Your tastes and ideas develop, you know, individually. You know, everybody is different as time goes on, you know. You know, it's a bit corny, I think, to become a flag-waving kind of hardline left-winger just because you came from a poor background, you know. We were very poor. We didn't have phones or cars or anything, you know, fridges or even bathrooms. It was as poor as you get, and luckily, you know, I had, I guess, a lot of luck, and I had a great education. I think that helped. The teachers at my school were very kind of old-fashioned, proper, dedicated teachers of a much older generation, and they were very instrumental, I think, in helping me define myself.
You have 4 talented, healthy sons. Obviously, I have to ask you about Otis because he's become famous in his own right.
He spent a lot of time in Ireland, kind of honorary Irish, I guess. I mean, he spent so much time over here. Yeah, he's a character, a country boy.
You were upset, weren't you, when he was jailed for his pro-fox hunting?
I would say that's an understatement, yeah. I think, you know, Otis is very passionate about his hunting. To him is it's a great tradition, which I think people in Ireland understand much more than they do in England now. It involves like so many things which bind together people who live in the countryside, you know. So it's almost like their church, you know. And they're all kind of, the people I've met anyway in that world, they're all kind of good people, you know. So it's a shame that it was banned, I think.
Well, look, thanks for talking to me, and best of luck tonight. It sounds like it's going to be a great concert.
I can take my shades off now. Great, yeah. Thank you.
John at rte.ie